you watched any of my Q&As before, this girl likes to ramble. So fun fact, this video was actually supposed to be a Q&A while we do our own nails. And I forgot about the whole doing my own nails part of this video, so instead it's just me sitting in front of the camera. But Sarah did a tutorial, so definitely make sure you head on over to her channel and see both her questions as well as her new nails. Hi everyone, Talia here. Welcome back to another video in Sarah's My Collaboration. Today we decided to do a Q&A video. Each of us are going to answer the same questions that you guys submitted. We had a lot of really good questions. We had to narrow it down, and so we picked 20 of them, which I feel like is quite a bit. You guys had some really great questions. I can't wait to share my answers with you, as well as watch Sarah's video as well. I can't wait to see how she answered them. So we have never done like a joint Q&A like this before. I'm really looking forward to it. It's something completely different, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see how we answer the same questions. So let's get started, because you guys know, if you watched any of my Q&As before, this girl likes to ramble, so we better get moving on here. How did you and Sarah meet, and how did this collaboration series come about? I love this question because I don't know if we've ever really talked about it before. So actually, physically in person, Sarah and I have never met before. She lives like another province over from me, so and it's to a place that I've never visited. She's never come here, but I would definitely consider Sarah like a really good friend, a really good online friend. And how we initially met is Sarah's been doing nails longer than I have, but when I started really getting into social media, so thinking 9 years ago when I first started like taking clients and stuff and posting on social media, I found Sarah's Facebook somehow, and I absolutely fell in love with the work that she did. Like, I just loved her creativity, I loved her unique style, I loved the way she shaped her nails, I loved everything. And so that is initially how we met, is I found her on Facebook. I don't know if she I honestly can't even remember who reached out to who or how that kind of happened. I feel like I probably sent her a message asking about something, and she was always so helpful for me. She would always respond to my questions, and she would always kind of talk to me and take the time to do that. I feel like that's how our friendship started and evolved, is we just started conversing more and talking more about like the nail industry, because at the time we were both working on clients. And eventually I actually started a YouTube channel like before this one, and I know some of you guys are here from that channel too, but it was one that I featured different nail art tutorials on, and I just decided not to do that. Like at the time I don't know, I didn't want to show tutorials. I don't know what it was. I just did not continue that channel. But I also know that I feel like, if my memory is like serving me correctly, Sarah was posting videos around that time too when I had that channel. And we just kind of started talking more about YouTube, and then eventually I started this channel, and shortly after Sarah started her channel. And I feel like that's when our friendship kind of grew a little bit more, is because we had YouTube in common in addition to working full-time on clientele. So our conversation, our friendship grew around social media, and YouTube, I want to say specifically, is where our friendship kind of evolved. And then how this collaboration started, honestly, Sarah and I throw around so many different ideas to each other all the time, either about collaborations or videos that we each want to create or things that we want to do with our businesses. And I feel like one of us was just like, hey, we should do this 12 days of Christmas thing. And initially, if you guys have been here for the last few years, it was just nail art. We would just pick different themes every single day, and we would do nail art tutorials based on those themes, and it was always so fun to see what the other person came out with on the same theme. And then last year, Vlogmas in addition to that series. And so then this year we kind of like combined the two of them. But that's just kind of how it started, is we just found each other on social media, and our friendship has just evolved since then. And honestly, I would consider Sarah one of my really good friends. We talk every single day. It's not just about like YouTube and Facebook and stuff. We definitely have like a friendship outside of YouTube. So that's amazing as well. What is the thing you like most about each other's work? For me, I love Sarah's shaping, and I always have. I remember back when I first started following her, I was like, oh my gosh, if I can make my nails look as good as hers, that would just be a dream. And it has continued ever since then. Like, I love watching how she shapes. I love watching how her nails come out. In addition to how beautiful her artwork is, like her shaping is just like goals for me. Like, I absolutely just love her shaping. What is the hardest thing both of you have found while being nail techs? Okay, so then she gives some examples. Had difficulty gaining clients when you needed them, photos, struggling with designs that didn't work out how you want. Probably balancing a clientele schedule. When I used to work full-time on clients, so if you guys are new here or anything, both Sarah and I don't really work on clients. Sarah doesn't work on clients, and then I have a couple people I still do nails for. At one point we did both have full-time clientele. So I loved working on clients and that creativity. Sorry you guys, I'm getting so many messages right now from Sarah and it's cracking me up. The clientele schedule was probably one of the hardest things that I struggled with. So clients rescheduling or canceling last minute, or trying to fit people in during times that work for me, like all that back and forth I found really difficult. Like I completely understand that people's schedules changed. Obviously my schedule changed too. Back when I had a full-time clientele, I remember thinking that like if I had somebody to like manage the schedule, it would just be so much easier, because it was just so time consuming having full-time clientele and the whole back and forth of schedule changes and everything around other people's lives. So I remember really struggling with that. What's been one of the most memorable moments in your nail tech career so far? The most memorable year that I've had as a nail tech was the year that I got to travel to Light Elegance headquarters. I found that to be an incredible experience and like one of my goals. I've been sharing Light Elegance products on social media since like 2015. I've been using them since like probably 2011, and just ultimately like one of my favorite brands. So being able to go to the headquarters and meet the team of Ellie and stuff, I found that to just be incredible and one of the most memorable events of my life for my nail career. When I went out to like Nail Techniques and Fusion's headquarters, and like meeting all of the Fusion team and teaching them a little bit about social media, that was incredibly memorable as well. We had Susie from Nail Career Education there, and Debbie from Clear Jelly Stamper was there, and obviously Cheryl from Fusion, and it was just, that was an incredible experience as well. That was one of like my best nail trips too. And then also traveling out to like now Creative Beauty, but back then it was Can West, their headquarters, and seeing that. Those type of experiences just, I really cherish. Something that I never thought would ever happen with my career, and it's thanks to like being on YouTube. So those are definitely some of my most memorable experiences and like nail tech goals, I guess, that I've set out for myself and was able to accomplish a few years ago. How did you gain confidence in your work, and how did you problem solve on clients? So I've been thinking about this question ever since I read it. I think the most important thing when it comes to gaining confidence and problem solving on clients is practice, and also having like a good nail education behind you. So whether that's your initial nail education training, or if you've taken advanced courses ever since then, having a bunch of experience on clients will give you confidence. So everybody has a different nail shape, everybody's fingers are shaped a little bit differently, everybody's forms fit a little bit differently, and everybody has these like weird kind of quirks to their nails that you don't learn about until you're actually working on people. So being able to problem solve comes with knowing your brands really well, knowing what products work well with each other and interact well with each other, and ultimately all of that comes from experience. I'd love to know who inspires you the most on the days where you just don't want to get out of bed. What pushes you to keep going? And then there's a second part to it, I'll answer after this. For me, 100% Sarah. I know there's been days where like I've got some time to do some work and I decide to just sit on the couch at nap time or something, and I'll put on one of Sarah's videos, and as soon as I see her like working in her studio or doing some sort of nail art video or something, I typically will just like get off my butt and go downstairs and work in my nail studio, because I just find her to be so inspiring. The amount of like time and work she puts into not only her content creation, but her nail throne business, I just find it to be really inspiring and really motivating. So she is definitely the person who inspires me the most, and she always has. Like I've always loved what she's done with her career, and I've been following her for a really long time. So she 100% inspires me the most. And how hard have you found 2020? How has it impacted your lives and careers? Okay, so I touched on this a little bit in one of my vlogs lately, but 2020 has been really weird. I am very much a planner and somebody who has things set out. I have goals for myself. I have ways to attain them. I don't mind change. I find that I can adapt with change, But when it's something that has just like completely altered the way that you do things and completely messed up with plans, I have found that incredibly challenging. For me personally, and like my life with like my family and stuff, our lives haven't been drastically impacted in like a negative way, thank God. But the main difference is my husband basically always works from home now, and he has the majority of this year. So that initially was like a big shock for us, because it's been fantastic to have him at home and he's here with the girls and all of that all the time. But like for him, he's been going into the office for however long he's worked there. So I know he kind of struggled with that, being at home and not having that social interaction. I was kind of used to not having social interaction being a stay-at-home mom, but I know for him, he kind of struggled with that. And then I think the biggest thing that it's impacted our lives is just not seeing our family as much as we usually do. We're the house that everybody comes to for family get-togethers and stuff, and like we obviously have missed out on birthdays and we've missed out on special occasions and stuff this year, and that I know has been like a real challenge for us, because we're so used to hosting family events and stuff. And then to go back to the second question, how hard have you found 2020? 2020 has been a very difficult year, but also a very powerful year for me, because I have learned that I can adapt to change rather quickly, that we can kind of roll with the punches. And I've also learned to recognize more about myself, especially when it comes to my mental health, and if I am struggling, some things that I can do to help it. And I feel like that has been a monumental thing for me this year, because coming to terms with the fact that I have probably struggled with mental health for years and never really addressed it, but also finding coping mechanisms this year has really impacted my life in a positive way. So I feel like 2020 has a ton of negatives to it, but for me personally, and as part of my personality, I tend to focus on the positive as much as I can. I know that that has helped kind of get me through all the negative that has been going on, but ultimately I've never been so anxious in my life, and that has been an incredible struggle. How do you stay creative? Do you ever get a stump or creative block? If so, how do you get past it? Yes, I 1000% have had creative blocks before, and the most like, I don't know, the one that has like affected me the most was when I was pregnant with Rose. I remember near the end trying to come up with like creative nail designs for my clients. I was like, I just can't. Like I do not have a creative bone in my body right now. I don't know where they went. It's like she took them all, but that was a real struggle. It just wasn't fun, because I was so used to being creative and just kind of flying by the seat of my pants with nail designs, and to not be able to think of different nail designs was really difficult for me. There's also times where I go through, I find it like with the seasons, like you would have November for us would be like winter nails, and then December would be Christmas nails, and then you'd have the New Year type of nails, and then you'd have Valentine's, and then you'd have St. Patrick's and Easter and all these like theme nails. And then as soon as Easter's done, it's like, okay, now what? And I remember always having like a stump around that time, a creative block around that time, that I really struggled to come up with ideas. And if that ever happened, I would take to Pinterest. I would spend a lot of time researching not just nail designs on Pinterest, but like just patterns in general. So I would search like fashion designs, or I would search floral patterns or anything like that. And I would try and come up with ideas that I wanted to replicate on a nail. And I found that that really got me excited about doing nail art again, and would also help me get out of that creative block. Or taking nail art workshops. Back when I used to work full-time, I would try and take at least one nail art workshop a year, if not more than that. And I always felt so inspired after leaving like a nail art workshop. And I know there's a lot of people offering online workshops and stuff now, which I think is great, because for somebody like me who's like a stay-at-home mom, that I could fit that in if I needed to. So I really like that things are going more online with that as well, but obviously I would love to get back to like in-person learning too. So hopefully that helped. And then there was also another question about this. What do you miss most about working on clients? 1000% the social interaction of seeing my clients. The majority of my clients that I had been with me through all of the seasons and phases of like my grown-up life, I guess. seen Steve and I get married. They had been through my pregnancy with Rose with me, you know, like having a new baby with her, and then my pregnancy with Violet, and then and they saw Violet all the way up until she was like a year old. So I really got to know my clients and they really got to know me, and I 1000% miss the social interaction of seeing them and also getting to know their lives, right? I definitely struggle with that, and I find myself reaching out to them a lot on like social media and following them and asking how things are going, because I really just miss seeing people in that sense. Do you think you'll ever come out with your own products? I don't know what the future has in store for my business, but it's nothing that's in like my immediate horizon. I feel like I have ideas of things that I would love to do or love to try out, but who knows what's gonna happen. Right now, my focus is like product reviews and trying to help you guys find products that work for you in your nail studio. And I feel like that's working pretty well. So in the near future, I don't foresee it. Have you ever had to fire a client? If so, how did you do it without seeming rude? I have 1000% had to fire a client before. It's hard. Like, for whatever reason that you have to do it, it's not an easy thing to do. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You don't want to deal with like the confrontation. You don't want the backlash, like all of that. Like it's hard. I think the best thing to do is just be honest. And I know, like, I see this often in like nail tech groups and stuff, people asking how to fire a client, and they'll give like the reasons that they want to do it and stuff. A lot of people will comment just saying, tell them that your schedule's full or whatever, which is not like the truth. Like, that person can take clients, and I find anything like that to kind of backfire, because what if suddenly you do want to start taking more clients and you want to advertise and that person sees and tries to get back in? Like, if you don't want to keep a client for whatever reason, you need to shut that door. And I have found the easiest thing to do is to just be professional, but also honest. There has been times that I've had to fire a client because either our personalities just didn't mesh. I knew that they weren't a good fit for me, or I knew I wasn't a good fit for them, and vice versa. And I just say it like that. You know, I appreciate you being a client of mine. I just don't think that we're the right fit for each other. I wish you the best of luck in finding somebody that meets your needs a little bit better than I'm able to. Something like that. You don't have to be rude about it. You can be professional. You can be concise. Less is more. You don't have to give reasons. You really just don't. Like, you don't have to dive into like this whole big detail of what you're doing. You can just say, it's just not working for me, however you want to word it. But I think being professional, being concise, and being honest are your best tools. I know that, like, for me personally, I can sleep better at night knowing that I was just honest about it. What is the most money you've ever spent on one order or something nail related? Like, not necessarily product related, but for me personally in like my nail studio, it would 1000% be my computer. That was a huge investment, and I remember the day that I went and bought it too. I had been like saving for something for a while. I just didn't know what it was. I was working on my laptop and I was just like really struggling because my laptop was getting so bogged down. My husband was at work. Rose was really young then. I remember sending Steve a message, and I'm just like, you know what? I am going to buy a new desktop computer. Meet me at the mall, because I don't want to be walking through the mall with like a giant computer and like a toddler, and I'm picking this up. And I just specifically remember that day because I remember my husband was probably just like, what the heck? But now that he's like worked on my computer from working at home, he's like, I get it now. So that was like, for me personally, nail related, but I think you're probably thinking like supplies. My red iguana hands were a pretty big investment. This was before like we had them in Canada, and I had to actually order them from the US. So I had to pay like shipping and duty and exchange. That was probably one of my most recent ones. My nail desk, that was a huge one too. As far as small products go, I know when I was working full-time, I would wait for big sales and I would just put in like a huge order then for like all of my basic supplies and stuff. Nail shows, that's what it would be, because I remember spending a ton of money at nail shows. Okay, probably Vegas. When I went to Vegas years ago, and we went to the IBS show, and I remember buying all of the Light Elegance glitter gels that I didn't have in my collection. That was a pretty big order. That was probably my biggest order there. What is your favorite thing about the nail industry? If you could have a magic wand and change one thing about it, what would it be? I love seeing what people come up with and like what the new trends are gonna be and the different nail art that comes out. I love how it's ever evolving and it's always changing and there's always something new and fun. That is probably my favorite thing. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing, it would be to get rid of the cattiness. That would be like the one thing that I would get rid of, because truthfully, I have never understood, I've never understood the competitive side of the nail industry. And I see it with like YouTube now too, and I just don't get it. Like, there is room for everybody to be in the nail industry, to be on YouTube, all of it. Like, there's room for everybody. There's like, everybody has their own style and their own uniqueness that they bring to the industry, and I don't understand why people have to be rude, competitive, catty. I don't understand any of that. So if I could change that, that is what I would do. How did you build your channel? Tips and advice for those starting to share their work on YouTube. So I have a video up from a few years ago about how to grow your social media, and it goes into, I think there's 5 main tips in it, and it goes for any social media. So it talks about being consistent, it talks about having quality content. Those are probably the 2 biggest things though, is consistency and quality. Not just quality like in like your pictures or like in your video, but also how you edit your video, how long your video is, keeping people engaged, that sort of thing really matters. And I think because I learned a lot of these things back in the day when I was trying to grow my Facebook, I've been able to carry it into my Instagram, and I've been able to carry it into my YouTube. But if you really want to know how to grow your social media and build either your channel, your Instagram, any of that, do some research on what works to grow these things and adapt them into your channel. If you're not gonna have quality thumbnails, quality content, if your videos are gonna be like long and rambly, or your cameras, things that you're showing on your camera is so zoomed out that nobody can see anything, that's not quality, and people are not going to stay engaged in your content, especially nowadays. Like, it would be a struggle to be getting into YouTube or social media nowadays, because I feel like I've been doing YouTube for 5 years and I find it incredibly difficult to build now versus like a few years ago, because everybody wants more, they want better. When people come to YouTube, they expect it to be this like giant, huge production. And that completely, in my opinion, takes away from like what YouTube originally was. YouTube originally was one person sitting in front of a camera doing their thing on YouTube. And now the channels that really succeed have like these huge production values and have like massive filming studios and like all of this sort of stuff. And like the things that I have for filming, I have like acquired over 5 years, but at the same time, I am nowhere near like an actual filming studio would be. Like, I'm still just like a single person sitting in front of a camera filming YouTube. So I feel like nowadays it is hard unless you're like really invested in your YouTube channel. Like, I don't mean it all to be discouraging, but I find it discouraging nowadays to even try and grow because of like how it's evolved over the last few years. And tips and advice for just starting out on YouTube: do your best to make yourself like a filming schedule or like something to keep yourself consistent, and also do your best to create quality content. If you don't have like the high quality cameras, lighting, tripods, all of that, do what you can within your ability and with what you have to make it really good quality. You can do a lot on just your phones, you can do a lot with just natural lighting, you can do a lot with these type of things, but do your best to focus on your quality and your consistent schedule. When you changed from doing nail work for clients, what was the tipping point where you knew it was the right move? Was it a leap of faith? Thoroughly detailed financial plans, not enough time to run social media, business, personal life, etc.? What was the key decision for you? Okay, so I have changed my business a couple times. When I was pregnant with Rose, I was working full-time clientele right until I had her. And I was also doing YouTube right until I had her. And then when I had her, I was still doing YouTube. And then I went back to work taking clientele at about 2 months. And I was nowhere near full-time clientele, but I was still doing quite a bit of clients, and I continued that quite a bit of clients up until this year after shutdown, when COVID first kind of happened. For me, I think it comes down to where I'm putting my time and where I'm putting my energy. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom who also runs a full-time YouTube channel and then had part-time clientele. So that's a lot of time that I'm committing to these different parts of my life. And it came down to where I wanted my time focused. YouTube for me is my full-time job. It is a full-time job. It's more than a full-time job for me, keeping up with it as far as hours wise go, but it's also, thankfully, is my job. So just like people go to work for their full-time job, I need to go and work on YouTube for my full-time job. So I know that that has to be something that I spend a lot of my time on. And then as far as clients go, the amount of time that I was spending doing services for clients was taking away for the time that I could put into my channel, that ultimately I wanted to spend more time working on my channel because that's where I see my vision going. I also spend a lot of my time with my kids and my family. So for me, it just got to the point where I needed to make some choices as far as where I'm going to spend my time. And I chose to spend it on YouTube and with my family. And then I just, like I said, I do have a couple people that I do nails for, but it's like very minimal. Their services are super quick. And one of the girls has been with me since I started. So I like 100% wanted to keep her. And then it was the same thing that happened shortly after I had Rose. Now I'm a full-time mom who's either got to go back to work doing full-time clientele, or I need to grow my YouTube channel. And I chose the YouTube channel and making that as my career, as well as being a full-time mom. So it just comes down to where I want to spend my time, and where my time is best served. How would you like your career to look next year? What parts of being a nail tech and a YouTuber would you like to change or focus on or not have in 2020? Okay, truthfully, I want to spend more time on my social media in 2021, and not just YouTube, but other aspects of my social media. But I know that I cannot do it with my schedule how it is now. So in an ideal world, I would have an assistant to help me with the behind the scenes things that I know I show you guys briefly in studio vlogs, but there's a lot of behind the scenes things that take up my time, that take me away from creating content and spending time on social media. And I would love to have help with that, so that I can focus more on this side of it. I absolutely love and feel so grateful and blessed to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I also love my career. And for me, it has always been a struggle to decide where I want to spend that time. But I know that doing what I love for my career, I want to spend more time doing it. I really just do. And I think it's important for my girls to see me working at something that I'm so passionate about. But I also think it's really important for my mental health to spend my time doing something that really just fulfills me. And that's what my work does. I absolutely love it. So I will hopefully have my kids in a little bit more care next year so that I can spend more time working, because that's what I want to do. I know they're only little ones. I know that I can't get this time back, but I also know that my career is incredibly important to me, and it's something that I want to spend more time doing. We'll see what 2021 has in store. If 2020 has taught me anything, it is that there is like no point in having a plan, so we'll see what happens. Okay, I love this question, and I had it asked a couple of times. How did you define your personal nail style? I honestly don't really know how to answer this question, but it just happened over time, and it also has like forever evolved too. Like if you go back and look at like my basic beginning nail work when I first kind of started to like what I do now, I've always loved color, I've always loved themes, I've always loved a bunch of art, and I've always loved like crystals and bling and all of that sort of stuff just kind of combined in a nail design. I think the most important thing for me in defining my style is to make sure that it's cohesive. That is something that is really important to me when I design nail sets. And I've talked about this in some of my how I design nail set videos. But I think that that helped me define more of my personal style, because, and I know many of you have said this, that if you see a picture online, you can tell like right away that it's one of mine, because it all kind of goes together. And I think that that has really helped me create a bunch of different designs, as well as know how to create designs, because it's what works for me. But I think that that is probably the biggest thing. And trying things, like I love trying out different nail art. I love trying like watercolor painting or a little bit of hand painting. I just know hand painting's not my jam. I've done it before. I'm not very good at it, but I've 100% like dabbled in it, and it's just not for me. Finding those things that you like to do, that you're passionate about, help you define your personal style, but also trying it to see if you like it. Do you miss doing a regular schedule of clients? No, I personally do not. Maybe if I didn't have young kids and both my kids were in school or something, I might miss like a more structured schedule, but right now with how things are, I do not miss a regular schedule of clients. It was one of the deciding factors for me to move my business all virtual instead of some clients and some virtual, is because I can fit what I do for YouTube and content creation wherever I have time. If I have some time during a nap time, or if my kids are in childcare, or if my kids go to sleep and I just feel I just have some work to get done, I can come down to the studio. I can't do that with clients. My schedule is dependent on what works for their schedule as well, and trying to line up schedules, I just didn't want to do that anymore. And truthfully, there's some nights where I would have clients booked and it had been like a long day with kids, and I'm like, I just don't want to sit downstairs and do 3 hours worth of nails. I would much rather like chill out with my husband or come downstairs and film a video or something. So for me personally, no, I do not miss a regular schedule of clients. With this year being so challenging, how did you keep motivated and continue making videos? There have been days where I'm really struggling, and it's been an extra hard year. Yes, it 1000% has been an extra hard year. It has been incredibly challenging, like you said, and my motivation comes from doing something that I love, and I love doing YouTube. I love being able to help you guys. I love sharing products with you guys. I love doing nail art. I just find it so relaxing, and if I'm having a day where like I'm really feeling anxious or I'm really not happy, if I get in the nail studio and I just start creating, I find that it just feeds my soul, and those are things that I really need to keep me motivated and continue making videos. Making videos and creating content is also my job, so it's something that, like, as much as I love it and I'm so grateful for it, I do like have to do it in order to like continue working. But the good thing about that is I love the creative freedoms that I have to create content, and I find that that just helps me get into like a really good zone and keeps me motivated. Sarah has been a huge motivation for me this year too. We definitely like feed off of each other. If one of us is not feeling motivated or needs some help with getting motivated, both of us are really good at helping each other with that, and I know that that has definitely kept me going as well. And also talking to my husband about how I'm feeling and things that are going on has really helped me, and creating like a schedule that works for my family has also helped me. But I'm not gonna lie, there's been days where I do not want to get out of bed, or I will get up, my kids watch TV a lot. When they go down for naps, I go down for naps too, and then I get up and do like supper and then go to bed. Like there has 1000% been days like that. You guys don't see those because I don't share those days, but it's just what it is. Like I feel like people just need to give themselves more grace for how they are doing or handling this time right now, because this time is something that nobody in our generations have ever had to deal with, and it's something that I remind myself that I am parenting through a pandemic and doing the best I can, and people that try to tell other people otherwise what they should be doing or what they would have done differently have not experienced parenting or running a business or doing any of this stuff during a pandemic. So you need to figure it out what works for you, but also give yourself grace that this year is strange. How has your inspiration changed regarding your businesses, your artwork, and overall nail direction? So for me, my inspiration now is creating content versus creating nails on people. Now it's my inspiration and motivation comes from creating content that looks good on a camera. So I know that like, the inspiration that I have for creating videos, will this look good when I film it? Will this look good when will my lighting look good? Will the top gloss versus matte look okay? Like these are the things I think of now for my inspiration versus what it would have been if I was working on clients. So that's completely different. And then my artwork and overall nail direction. My artwork now is a little bit more tailored to the products that I feature, because I know you guys see me feature products, but then you also want to see how to use them or how I would use them. So that is completely different, because back in the day, I would get like new collections in and I would think, okay, this client would love this color and what can I do for that on that client? That my mind doesn't work like that now. It's completely different, and it's how can I show people how to use this entire collection for one nail design, or what colors I would use for the different nail art that I want to do. And overall nail direction, my nail direction now is way more focused on creating content, helping you guys decide what products would work for you in your nail studio, again, versus how you would create looks for working on people. I am more focused on like the products, how making those products work on people. As far as I know, neither of you are working on clients anymore. Do you guys prefer this, having your career all virtual now? I definitely prefer this. Again, for me and my schedule, it works a lot better, but I also find that with what I do now, I have more freedom and I have more creativity to create designs that I want to versus what clients want. It also, like working on my fake hands, works a lot better for filming because my fake hands never go out of focus. My fake hands don't have particular ways that they need their nails shaped or anything like that. It just works so much better for what I do. And the best thing about it for me though is being able to work my schedule around my family schedule, and that is incredibly important to me, especially having 2 small children, having a husband that works from home. We have very busy days, and being able to adapt my business for that just is so much better. How do you manage your family, your salon, and your videos? So both of us don't really have a salon anymore. I do take a couple clients. They both only come once a month, and I just put them on a Sunday or a Saturday first thing in the morning, and then that usually ends up being my work day after that too. So I'll work on them and then I'll come right back to the studio and do my YouTube work or my content creation work. As far as like, oh my gosh, as far as managing my family and my work, I know many of you out there struggle with that. The work-life family balance is a constant struggle. Having a consistent schedule really helps me. So I know when my girls are in childcare, I know when my oldest is in school. Violet still naps, Rose goes for a quiet time, sometimes she naps, but I have that set nap time every single day to get something done. So that helps me as well. The biggest thing for managing it though for me is to have help. I have childcare, I have a house cleaner who comes every couple of weeks, I have a husband who is incredibly hands-on with both the kids, the housework, all of that. And that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for YouTube if it wasn't for all of the help that I have. Having help and having a consistent schedule is where I can make it all work. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of days are just like complete chaos, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But that is just the stage that I am in right now. So that is all of the questions. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I know this was a rambly one. Whenever we do Q&As, for me, I just like cannot stop talking. So thank you guys so much for asking some great questions. I really look forward to seeing what Sarah had to say in hers as well. So I'm definitely gonna head over and watch hers after this. She's not as rambly as I am though. So I anticipate her Q&A to be significantly shorter than mine. Make sure you're following me on all my social media, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.